In 1990, the arena lights went dark, the bell tolled, and a towering figure in a black trench coat walked out for the very first time. That moment introduced the world to The Undertaker, and nothing in WWE was ever the same again. Over the years, we've seen the Deadman evolve into many different versions, from the terrifying phenom who buried opponents alive, to the American badass who rolled in on a motorcycle, to the supernatural icon who could seemingly rise from the dead. But which Undertaker was the most legendary? And how did he manage to constantly reinvent himself for over 3 decades? This is the full story of every version of The Undertaker explained. We'll go back to where it all began, his haunting debut at Survivor Series. We'll break down his reinventions, the Ministry of Darkness, the biker years, the return of the Deadman, and even the final chapter. Because if there's one thing about The Undertaker, it's that he was never just one character. He was many, and each one left a mark on wrestling history.
The beginning. When The Undertaker first walked into WWE in 1990, fans didn't know what to think. He wasn't like the colorful wrestlers of that time. He didn't smile. He didn't play to the crowd. He didn't even look alive. He was billed from Death Valley, standing nearly 7 feet tall, wearing a dark trench coat, black gloves, and that wide-brimmed hat. He moved slowly, with an almost zombie-like walk, and no one could figure him out. His manager, Brother Love at first, and later Paul Bearer with the famous urn, made him even creepier. The urn was said to hold his power. When Bearer raised it, Undertaker would sit up after punishment that should have kept him down. Fans bought into it. Kids were terrified, and yet everyone couldn't stop watching. In his first year, he did something almost unthinkable. He defeated Hulk Hogan at Survivor Series 1991 to win the WWE Championship. That was unheard of. He wasn't even around a full year, and he was already champion. This early version of The Undertaker was all about fear. His music was chilling. The funeral march. His moves, like the tombstone piledriver, looked devastating. And the way he would rise back up after taking a beating, that made him feel more like a monster than a man. But WWE knew they couldn't just keep him as an unstoppable villain forever. Soon, fans began to cheer him. They respected him. And that set the stage for his next chapter. But just as the character was starting to gain legendary status, a shocking twist was about to happen in the mid-90s that split The Undertaker story in two.
The Rise. In 1994, the storyline took a wild turn. Yokozuna and a group of villains locked Undertaker inside a casket during the Royal Rumble. The crowd thought it was the end. But as the casket was wheeled away, Undertaker's face appeared on the big screen, saying he would not rest in peace. The casket filled with smoke, and the dead man's spirit seemed to rise to the heavens. This angle led to months of mystery, and then the famous Undertaker vs. Undertaker match at SummerSlam 1994. Fans saw 2 men dressed as the dead man, but only one was the real deal. This was WWE at its most theatrical, and people loved it. As the years went on, Undertaker added new layers. He brought in supernatural storylines, his feud with Mankind being the most famous. Their boiler room brawl and buried alive matches showed just how dark his world could get. And in 1997, during the very first Hell in a Cell match, he and Shawn Michaels changed wrestling forever. That's also when his brother Kane debuted, starting one of the most famous rivalries in WWE history. Undertaker wasn't just a character anymore. He was a central figure, and the stories around him made WWE must-watch television. But just when fans thought Undertaker couldn't get any darker, he created a version of himself that went beyond horror. It was almost cult-like. The Ministry of Darkness. By 1998, the Deadman transformed into something far scarier. Gone was the slow, zombie-like mortician. In came a demonic leader with a black robe, gothic symbols, and haunting promos about power and darkness. This was the Ministry of Darkness era. Undertaker wasn't just a wrestler, he was portrayed as the head of a sinister group. He crucified Stone Cold Steve Austin on his symbol, kidnapped Stephanie McMahon, and spoke about serving a mysterious, higher power. This version was so shocking that some fans thought it went too far, but it's impossible to deny how iconic it was. It pushed boundaries. It blurred the line between wrestling and horror movie. The Ministry eventually merged with Vince McMahon's corporation, and it was revealed that Vince himself was the higher power. That twist got mixed reactions, but it showed just how big Undertaker had become. He wasn't just a side act, he was driving the main storylines of WWE's most popular era, the Attitude Era. But no one expected what would come next. Because in 2000, The Undertaker completely dropped the Deadman look and came back as someone brand new. The American Badass. At Judgment Day 2000, fans heard Kid Rock's American Badass blasting, and a motorcycle roared into the arena. Riding it was The Undertaker, but not the Deadman. This was a whole new version, the biker, the outlaw, the man who spoke like a real person instead of a supernatural being. He wore bandanas, leather jackets, sunglasses. He cut real, intense promos. Instead of walking slow and eerie, he ran into fights and brawled. His entrance had Limp Bizkit or Kid Rock blasting, which fit perfectly with the time. Some fans didn't know what to think at first, but soon the biker Undertaker carved out his own legacy. He feuded with Kurt Angle, Triple H, Brock Lesnar, and many more. His matches became more fast-paced and physical. One of his most memorable moments was his match with Jeff Hardy in a ladder match for the WWE Championship. Undertaker, the veteran, gave Hardy a chance to shine, and when Jeff refused to stay down, Taker raised his hand in respect. That was huge, and it showed the biker version could be both brutal and human. But just when fans thought the biker was here to stay, something happened in 2004 that shocked everyone and brought back the legend people thought was gone forever.
The Deadman Returns. At WrestleMania 20, Madison Square Garden went dark. The bell tolled again, and fans realized what was happening. The original Deadman was back. This wasn't the exact same as 1990. It was an upgraded mix. He still had the trench coat and the eerie music, but now with the experience and aggression of the biker era. He was like an evolved version, both supernatural and real. This era gave us some of the most iconic Undertaker matches of all time. His WrestleMania streak became legendary. Matches against Randy Orton, Batista, Edge, and Shawn Michaels showed that he wasn't just a gimmick, he was one of the best performers in history. His matches with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 and 26 are still considered some of the greatest ever. The storytelling, the emotion, the near falls, they made people believe again. But eventually, time catches up with everyone, even the Deadman. And what came next showed just how much his body had been through.
The final years. From 2011 onward, The Undertaker was no longer a full-time wrestler. He became a special attraction, appearing mostly at WrestleMania. Each year, his entrance felt bigger, his aura stronger, but his matches became fewer. In 2014, at WrestleMania 30, the unthinkable happened. After 21 straight wins, The Undertaker's streak ended at the hands of Brock Lesnar. The crowd was in shock. Some even cried. That streak was a huge part of his legacy, and seeing it end was one of the most jaw-dropping moments in WWE history. After that, Undertaker wrestled in a mix of storylines. He faced Bray Wyatt, Shane McMahon and Hell in a Cell, and Roman Reigns, where he left his hat and coat in the ring, symbolizing retirement. But he wasn't done yet. In 2020, at WrestleMania 36, he gave fans one last masterpiece, the Boneyard match with AJ Styles. It was part cinematic fight, part throwback to all his past versions. You saw the biker, you saw the Deadman, you saw the legend in one final battle. And it was the perfect send-off. Later that year, at Survivor Series, the same event where he debuted, The Undertaker officially said goodbye. After 30 years, he laid the character to rest. Think about this. No other wrestler has ever pulled off what Undertaker did. He wasn't just one character, he was many. The mortician, the cult leader, the biker, the legend. And every time fans thought the character had reached its limit, he found a new way to bring it back. He never stayed stale. He evolved. The streak, the entrances, the feuds with icons like Kane, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Brock Lesnar, all of it combined to make him bigger than wrestling itself. There will never be another like him. So when people ask, who was the real Undertaker? The answer is simple. All of them. Each version told a different part of the story, and together they made him the most respected, feared, and loved wrestler in WWE history. If you thought Undertaker's many versions were crazy, wait until you hear the next story.